Hi, in this video, I'm going to walk you through some of the three, what I think are the three key elements that you should include if you're looking to create an invoice using Microsoft Word. Now, if you're in a position that you're not ready to take on an accounting software program and you want to be able to request payment from clients, you need to be able to invoice. And you can create one in a range of programs. You can use Excel, you can use Canva, you can use Adobe, or you can use Word. So I'm just going to walk you through some of the things that I wanted to share with you that will make life a little bit easier for you, so that you can produce these documents in a consistent and professional way. So the first thing I wanted to talk to you about, I'm going to use in the video today, I'm going to actually use the Thrive DIY invoice template as my example to show you these elements. So there are some elements that you're required to have from an ATO perspective from the Australian Taxation Office for your invoice to qualify as a compliant invoice in your business. There are some that I would recommend you have just from a personal branding and document perspective, and there are some that you can use from a Word perspective to make creating, using, and maintaining your invoices really easy. So I just want to cover off very quickly on some of the things your invoice has to include. And that will just mean that you won't have any issues with your clients asking for more information or hopefully in delay in getting payment. So you need to have a heading that it is an invoice or a tax invoice if you're registered for GST. You need to have your information as the seller, and that needs to include your legal business name, your ABN, and some contact information for you. You need to have a unique invoice number. So every invoice has to have a number that is unique to that invoice and a date and due date. You need to have that you're addressing it to somebody. So at a minimum, you would need to have the name of the person your invoice is going out to. I would recommend putting their ABN, their company name, and an address in if you can. And an optional thing is to have a customer ID, which is what we have here. You need to very clearly describe the services that you are requesting payment for. So in this instance, on this particular one, we're using a table, which I think is a great way to categorize the information, makes it really clear for your customer. But you need to have a rate and a total. And if you are claiming GST, you need to show the breakdown somewhere and claim that it includes GST. You also need to include your payment terms, so whether that's a payment due date, whether there's a deposit required, any of those details that are your standard terms of trading, and you need to let the client know how they can pay you. Now, predominantly for the sorts of invoices that I raise and that some of the people I work with raise, it would be by bank transfer, so you would include your bank account details. You might have a credit card facility, Stripe or PayPal, something like that. And if you do, then the best thing to do is to include a hyperlink to that site so that people can click that on the invoice. So that's what you actually are required to have on an invoice. There are a couple of things from a branding point of view to make sure that you're getting your brand messaging across that I would absolutely recommend as well. The first thing is obviously to use your logo. So you can see on here we've got some spots where you could pop your logo in, or a watermark of elements of your logo. Again, it's reinforcing that it's come from you, and chances are a client's going to recognize the logo more than they may perhaps your legal name or your ABN. So definitely have your logo on every document. The other way you can use your branding would be through the use of your brand fonts and your brand colors. So obviously the headings here in this table and across the top in this table, you can put those into your brand colors. You can also use brand colors for the outlines of the tables. I would recommend that when you're using colors that you consider making sure that you're using a color that will look clear and legible both on the screen and in print. The client may print it off to give it to their accountant or bookkeeper, or on their own filing system. They may keep them as hard copies. So you want it to be legible when they print it. And you need to remember that they may print it in black and white, not in your pretty colours. So make sure that you use a darker colour so that if they print it in black and white on the white paper, those headings are still legible. Then fonts. So use your brand font all the way through. So you can see in this example here, all of this is in Century Gothic, which is my standard script for Thrive. I haven't used my feature font anywhere here because I find that a cursive or a handwritten script or some of those brushstroke style scripts can be quite difficult to read sometimes, particularly if you open it up and then print it out in black and white, etc. It may not look as obvious. So I would recommend sticking to your main font, using different sizes, different colors to draw attention to your headings. Last but not least, I wanted to talk to you about a little bit of safety with your documents. So the first thing I would say is to use your headers and footers so that when you're creating your invoices, you're not moving the key elements that need to be on every invoice. So your details, the heading, your logos, and your bank account details, you can pop them all in a header or footer in whatever layout you prefer, because those aren't going to change from invoice to invoice. The only things you want in the main content of the document are the things that you'll need to change every time you open one. So that will be the number, the date, who it's to, and the amounts. The other thing that I recommend, and I say this with all documents that you produce, is that you should absolutely make sure that they are PDF'd. So I'm working in this video, you can see I'm working in Microsoft 365 on the desktop on a Mac. So the buttons may look a little bit different if you're on a PC or on the web version, but Microsoft Word has this great feature in 365 that you can print to PDF. So if you go File and then Print, and then when your print window comes up, one of the options down here will be to save as a PDF. So you can do it that way. Or you can go File, Save As, and you can save it somewhere onto your drive. I'm just going to pop this version onto the desktop. So I might pop it onto my desktop, and that'll be that one. And I can call it anything I like. And then when I drop the file format down, I can export it as a PDF. And that means that if I do that, I'll just export that to the desktop. You can see it's converting it there. Let me, where has it put it? Oh, where did it put it? I will find it on the desktop then. That one there. It's opening it up as a PDF. Bring it across here for you so you can see that what it's done. Close that one as well. What it's done is it's preserved everything, so no one can now edit and change. And I highly recommend that you always PDF your documents before you send them out, specifically so that there isn't any accidental or deliberate edits made by a client at the other end. That means that they drop a zero off something, or they can say, well, that's what I received. So never send your documents as a Word document. If this video has been useful for you and you have any other questions about working with Word in this particular kind of document, then pop a comment below and I'll be able to help you out. You can find Thrive on Facebook, LinkedIn, and Instagram. Just search Thrive Admin Services. You can find more tips and tricks on all of our social media, or you can get in touch with me directly if you have a question. We also have this fabulous new invoice template available to purchase. So if you don't want to create one from scratch, you can buy one ready to go and customize it, and you'll find that in our shop, which is on our website, thriveadmin.com. I'll catch you again soon.